next. We speak to Massimo Falcioni. He's the CEO of Etihad Credit Insurance. We're going to get the details on how the U.S.-China trade tensions are affecting the region's credit markets. That's next. This is Bloomberg. Etihad Credit Insurance was set up by the UAE government in February last year. Its role is to be a catalyst to support the country's non-oil exports, trade, investment, and strategic development sectors. Joining us now is the CEO, Massimo Falcioni. I mean, the biggest question right now on the minds of a lot of investors is what's happening with trade. The global trade situation with the United Arab Emirates is diversified, and we have this visually, actually. ECTR go for our clients. These are the biggest trading partners for the UAE, so that's China, India, Japan, and the United States. That's on a total trade basis. What are you seeing in terms of the health of trade at the moment?
Well, globally speaking, World Trade Organization Global Index confirmed that in the second quarter of 2019, still there is a declining, a sluggish growth trend. In fact, I do expect for 2019 a 2.6% only growth compared to what was last year 3%, and 2 years ago, which was at 4.6%. The major reason for this sluggish growth is actually due to four major topics. One is trade tensions. Secondly is consolidations of fiscal budget in some countries. Third is currency volatility. Fourth, increase in geopolitical risk. However, the interesting point is regarding the UAE. If you see the first quarter of 2019 in both Dubai and Abu Dhabi, especially related to non-oil foreign trade, there is a remarkable increase. In Dubai only, there was an increase of 7% of foreign trade. And if you look specifically at the export, this growth was 30%. Only in one quarter. Abu Dhabi reported a growth of non-oil foreign trade of 3.1%. So again, globally speaking, there is a lot of lack of confidence. And this has an impact in terms of investments and of global trade. In the UAE, thanks to some initiatives put in place by the federal government and the local governments, this confidence is offset by these initiatives. And of course, when there is confidence, trade and investments work well.
Right. Massimo, it's Tracy Alloway over in Hong Kong. I want to ask you exactly about this point, because we have seen the government unveil a host of stimulus measures to help the UAE economy get through a soft patch. Do you think there's more they could be doing specifically for SMEs?
Of course. Well, with one initiative I would like to mention specifically what Abu Dhabi did. So having a budget, putting a budget in place in 2018, which is enrolled in 2019, of 52 billion dirham in order to attract more SMEs and manufacturing companies in Abu Dhabi. If you see the SME structure in the UAE, there are a lot of traders. Actually, 56% of the SMEs in the country are traders, and only 8% contribute to the manufacturing GDP. So the idea is to attract more manufacturing in the UAE. Talking more about this, so putting a budget in order to attract and to ease these investments is one topic. But there are many other things the government is doing.
I mean, on many other things, allow me to jump in here. What are your priorities in terms of trade partners and potential products that can be exported? What are you excited about? Where are the biggest pockets of growth? Run me through your thinking.
That's a very good question. I mean, the biggest important thing at the moment is to guarantee confidence. So what we need to do actually is to provide protection. And one important element for SMEs, same as for large companies, is on payments. So there is a very focus on the short-term payments, and this of course can give support for exporters to offer competitive terms and open markets and selling on open credit rather than on the traditional letter credit and cash-based payments, which limit a little bit the opportunities. So when there is this confidence between a seller and a buyer, the economy runs and goes very fast. This is one important initiative. It is not the only one, especially if you look at the mid and long-term risk. So there is, as I mentioned, one of the key elements of lack of confidence is geopolitical risk increase. So by giving confidence in political risk protection to investments, this is another important accelerator.
Right. But Massimo, you say that there's a lack of confidence, but actually, if you look at business lending in the UAE, that is actually outstripping consumer lending at the moment. So clearly, some people are, in fact, feeling quite confident. Why do you need more steps to boost SME lending?
Well, actually, the important thing is that you mentioned before SMEs. When we look at consumer individual consumption is one topic. When we talk about access from SMEs specifically to, for instance, banking funding, this is where we need to stabilize and fill a gap. So very important for the banks to lend is to have some guarantees. And SMEs usually, because of their size, might not have the proper guarantee in place in order to give this confidence. So this is where export credit agencies like Etihad Credit Insurance, which are government related, can really fill this gap and ease access to SME. So this is why it's very important and needed. Another important element is that by easing access and by putting the guarantee from an export credit agencies, the cost of funding for SMEs might be reduced. And this is another important element. The cost of working capital for SMEs, especially when they are in a small size, has to be eased and supported. And this is another element of priority. That's why in our ecosystem, in ECI, we build a strong network of banks supporting our guarantees. So when we put a guarantee as ECI, this is supported by the major local and international banks as well.
All right, Massimo, we're going to have to leave it there. That's Massimo Falcioni, Etihad Credit Insurance CEO, walking us through the latest landscape for SME and other business funding.